Hey everyone, my name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at some ProRevenge stories, so sit back, relax and enjoy.
Use me and abuse my horse? Good luck keeping tenants. In November of 2017, the barn where I kept my horse was struck by a tornado. My horse, Bonus, and the property owner's horse, Socks, survived with no injuries. But the barn, our horse trailer, and the winter supply of hay did not. Knowing there was no way we could afford or find new hay this late in the season, I started to call around to see if there were any stables with openings that could essentially offer pickup of the horses in the middle of a tornado wasteland. Found a seemingly nice couple, James and Carol, with a place only a few miles from my apartment in town that would come get them, and they offered boarding, hay, and feeding services for $160 a month. Seeing as I'm used to $0, this was a lot for me at the time, but I knew it was very reasonable, so I said to come pick them up. Also, it pays to mention that my brother's godmother boarded her 3 horses there as well, and helps take care of the horses if James and Carol aren't available. Right away, I notice a couple things after move-in. Number 1, Carol has a drinking problem she likes to bring to the barn. Number 2, neither James or Carol have any business being around a horse. They have had horses at least 2 decades, and Carol still cannot saddle her own horse. James believes that you should be able to see a horse's ribs or it's too fat. I go out every day to clean my stall and check my horse, Bonus, has been fed, and to check on Socks, keeping an eye out for anything out of the ordinary. Then, I think in maybe April, I get a call from James late afternoon, wanting to know if I could get a hold of Sock's owners because he's broken his leg and the vet is on his way to put him down. I ask how this happened, as I know Socks was turned out with James's horses. My horse was in a turnout area by himself. James says that it was too cold the day before, so he brought Socks into a stall to stay warm the night before, and he just found him with a broken leg. Right away, this doesn't sit right with me because James doesn't pay that close attention to the horses. I go straight there after work. The vet has already been there, and Socks is laying dead in the aisle, awaiting pickup, and James's dog is laying in between his legs, literally eating him. I found out later that James said Socks broke his leg in the field, but he didn't want the blame, so he dragged him up to the barn with a tractor and said he was in the stall. I should have taken my horse and left then and there, but I had nowhere to go as we were still looking for a house with somewhere to take Bonus. Fast forward a few months and we start getting a lot of new tenants, mostly young kids and first-time horse parents hoping to get their kids into 4-H for the first year. I don't say much, but I'm definitely watching what's going on, and none of these kids are getting any type of training or assistance from James and Carol, even though they offer riding lessons for $25 an hour, which basically consists of a drunk Carol yelling at James that he's doing it wrong. I offer to the kids/parents to work together individually to see where they are at, but inevitably, we end up doing a group work night twice a month. Before anyone asks why I did this without charging, I have a soft spot for 4-H, and I really did not want to see any of these kids hurt. I thought if I could build them a solid foundation, it would help them out down the road and hopefully keep everyone safe. Soon, people start to realize James and Carol really don't know what they are doing, and start coming to me more and more for advice. Some kids are doing well, some kids you can tell don't care one way or the other. I made sure to emphasize at work nights that with them being first year students, we would strictly be working on groundwork. Working on the ground with your horse on a lead rope, until I felt that everyone was confident and capable before we started any riding lessons. Everyone agreed. As the weather started getting nicer, I was informed by James that his granddaughter Kelly would be giving riding lessons in congruence with my lessons. Kelly is only interested in contesting classes. Barrels and poles like you see at a rodeo, which is not for first year kids that can't even sit a trot. I just say okay, but I will not move on with my lessons until I feel they are ready. Everyone agrees. Soon, stories start flooding in of kids falling off, getting hurt, etc. I feel bad, but what can I do? I've told them they weren't ready, I'm not the one giving the lessons, etc. About this time, I notice my horse, Bonus, is starting to look like he's losing weight. Not uncommon coming out of winter. He's a 20-year-old OTT, off-the-track thoroughbred, meaning he was a racehorse before I got him 14 years ago. He's hard to keep weight on, so I start him on a couple vet-recommended supplements that James and Carol, godmother, agreed to add into my feeding regime since they do the feeding as part of my $160 boarding fee. Lessons go on. I notice my horse is still losing weight fast. I call the vet again, tell him my horse's medical history, his current feeding plan, which should have kept a pregnant mare fat and sassy, and he said for his breed and age, it sounds like it could be stomach cancer. I'm devastated as we just bought a house, and I was lining someone up to come put up fencing to bring Bonus home. I relay this to James, godmother, and Kelly, and ask that they make sure they keep food in front of him 24/7 to see if he starts putting on weight, or if we should go ahead with the cancer testing. They agree, whatever it takes. I made some vet-recommended changes to his feeding plan again, and make up some daily supplement packs in Tupperware containers, labeled Sunday and Saturday. At this point, I was still devastated about possible cancer, but also I had the same warning signals going off as when Socks broke his leg. I just couldn't pin anything down. On Father's Day Sunday, I went out to the barn and made up a week's worth of pack Sunday and Saturday. I missed coming out a couple days that week between working on the house, work, etc. I show up on Thursday. All of my supplements are gone, except for Wednesday, and no one can confirm or deny what happened to them, or if my horse was even fed yesterday. I will admit at this point, I saw red. I stormed up to James and asked for an explanation. He couldn't give me one. He said that the boys were feeding. The boys were 8 and 9-year-old brothers who were leasing a horse from him. I asked him why I was paying him to feed my horse hundreds of dollars of feed and supplements while he was pawning it off on 2 little boys. He said, well, it may have also been godmother not feeding him. Right away, I said that's BS. I confront godmother, and she said that James had joked about switching my supplements and said how they aren't important. He also has only been giving my horse half as much hay as he's supposed to get because James thinks he's wasting it on him since he looks fine. My horse did not look fine. He looked like a horse with stomach cancer. He looked like a before rescue photo. I'm still about 30 to 60 days out from having a fence and shelter for Bonus to be at the house. I make a sign to put in my feed bucket explaining the importance of supplements and the effects of misfeeding them. Now, you may ask why I did not just start feeding him myself. I really wish I could have made the time to do that, but my horse was about 30 minutes from the stable. With trying to get everything ready, there were days I could just not make it out of there, So I had some of the parents from work nights on watch that he always had food, figuring this would be suffice until I could get him out. The next closest stable providing hay was over an hour away. The next day, I get a call from James. He has seen my sign and is determined it is too much liability for him to feed my horse anymore. And while he will not be reducing my boarding bill to reflect this, he will also no longer be responsible for feeding my horse. I get in my car and fly to the stable. Sure enough, I get there and there is a board zip-tied over the food hall in the stall stating that no one other than me is to be feeding my horse. Godmother is there but would not make eye contact with me. Now I really lost it. I had a friend with a couple horses a few miles away from where I just bought my house. I called him in tears and explained what was going on and asked if there's any way that I can bring Bonus there until we get our place ready. I didn't have hay to feed him, I didn't have a trailer to get him there, nothing. I just need some help. He told me to come get a truck and trailer and bring him there. Before I left, I told Godmother to not let anyone touch my stuff and I'm coming back with a trailer. Less than an hour later, I am back and the barn is packed. Clearly word got out what was going on. Other than Godmother, I had been a boarder there the longest. Plus, I had been working with these kids and their parents almost a year. As I am pulling in, James starts gathering my stuff from the storage and tack room, trying to ask what's mine. I tell him, I know what's freaking mine and I will get it before leave. I storm through the barn getting everything that's mine tossed in the trailer. Then I go into the office and grab some paper and write out a half cared for see ya memo that I pay store rent at the beginning of the month, so there is no money owed from me and any remaining balance I have should be put towards the stall bedding I owe for. I signed it, snapped a picture, and took it out and handed it to Carol. As I was walking away, she tries to follow me, keeps telling me to slow down and talk to her. I say absolutely not. I gotta get my horse out of this hellhole as soon as possible. She keeps telling me not to act like this because they can't take the liability of feeding him medicine. I turned and said, medicine? They're freaking supplements. And as for medicine liability, you give every horse out here their yearly vaccines, wormers, and antibiotic shots. I grab Bonus to put him in the trailer, and Carol tries to come in after me. At this point, I am screaming at the top of my lungs because I want these people to hear me. I told her to get out of my face. I was taking my horse, which they starved, even after everything I've done, including a year of lessons to kids for free, so that their stable looked good, yet they could disrespect me like this. When I dropped Bonus at my friend's house, he said he thought he was going to die before he could make it into my place. He looked that bad. I was still considering stomach cancer because he dropped so much weight so fast, and I figured since James thought he was going to die anyways, that's why he quit feeding him. I'm still really hard on myself about letting poor Bonus get that bad before something got done about it. I just kept saying a little bit longer and it'll be okay. Don't do that. Whatever you can do it now. Here's where the revenge starts. If you are still with me, bless you. I started to get in touch with families I was helping. I helped one family find a place. My farrier had a stall come open. Most people didn't want to leave right away because fair, which they'd been training for a year, was just weeks away. When fair came around, I got to talk to people I didn't get to talk to previously. There were 2 renting families and 2 leasing families at the fair. Finally, the straw that broke the camel's back. The two families leasing James's horses got disqualified at the fair because the horses were too thin to safely show. No one went back to the stable after the fair. They all found somewhere else to go after seeing what happened to my horse and without me being there for free lessons. He lost 5 stall rentals, roughly $225 a month after boarding and bedding, and 3 leases, roughly the same price, plus me, totaling up his loss to about $2,000 per month. Oh, and an update on Bonus. He is healthy as a horse. He put on probably 250 pounds since moving home and is stomach cancer free. Here's a picture of him on screen. Wow, that does suck that people will actually do that kind of thing, but it's good to hear that he's doing well now.
If you want to see some other videos like that, then click on screen right now, and if you want to subscribe, that'd be awesome too, but I will see you very soon.